To be honest, I'm gonna give you a real honest answer here, is that like a lot of the things Huang designs, I'm not into it. I'm not into it. I'm really not into it, and like.
All right, redo. Yo, what's up everybody? My name is Huang.
And I'm On.
And this is DUI.
A show about creatives talking about their influences under the influence.
That's right, and this will be our episode 1.
All right. 100%. Cheers.
Cheers. All right. Ready? All right, let's start the show. Cheers.
Cheers.
We've been drinking before that anyway, so.
Oops.
I'm a little buzzed. What are we drinking today?
I don't know if I could say it. Might get sued.
Hopefully we get sponsored.
So, some of that brown, this is the...
He prefers cognac and ginger, but I accidentally grabbed soda. So we're going to be drinking a little
real well.
We're going to be drinking a little bit of cognac and some soda, but let's cheers to that and then we'll get into the show.
Cheers.
So, welcome to episode 1. Episode 1 is about Anh Nguyen. He's the other half of Creative Session, and he's a design director at Playground Global, which is a venture capital here in Palo Alto, California. He's been there about 5 years now, right?
Yeah.
And he's responsible for everything from industrial design to branding to marketing content and the whole sort of 9-yard as a startup starts to develop their company and their experience. And it's a little bit different from where he started, but we'll get into that as well. An's been all over the Bay. He's been in the game for about 15 years now. What's interesting is he's been in consultancies all his life. So, you know, big companies like One & Co, places like Astro Studios, shout out to them. Love those guys. They've been like big inspirations for us all our careers, and we wouldn't be where we are without them.
Yeah.
And so without further ado, this is Anh Nguyen. Welcome to the show. We got our man Kris behind the camera.
Shout out to Kris.
Kris has been working hard with us so another insight is we've shot 3 episodes.
Yeah, we have.
And there's been a huge learning experience. I've done a lot of filming in the past, but never like this. There's a lot of like technical things that we've had to get through, and you know, like things like audio, things like video.
At the first episode, we recorded completely with one mic, totally flopped, muffled behind.
One mic between the 3 of us, and it was odd. It was really odd editing it. It was really awesome learning from it too. Also, another thing that we learned was people react differently when they get drunk.
Yeah.
Some people are angry. Some people are sad. Some people are fun.
Yeah.
And we didn't. You know, you think about that usually within your circle of friends, but like you don't think about that on a show where you assume people are going to be fun. So that was a big learning experience for us too. So we're going to kick that off. To start it off, I created some cards, and generally the first phase, we want to think about this show as phases, similar to design, right? There's like phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 of design, and usually towards the phase 3 and 4 is usually like the critical moments, right? In sports, it's the 4th quarter, it's a critical moment, and you know, you just like, you're going hard to it, right?
Yeah, and I think the first phase here for our show, at least, we're thinking of breaking it into a few small sections, calling it almost past, present, future, to really break down some of the thinking of our guests and really expose who they are and how they think.
Yep. And so we created some cards, and these cards tease out some of your history and things that you've done in the past. He hasn't seen this. I've went through the archives and kind of teased out and brought back some old projects. None of it was recent, but like, quick update. We did update our portfolio. It's been like, probably 6 years now, 5 years that we've updated anything. So we'll be flashing some of the work up here, as well as some of the work that Anh has been doing and sort of what he's, the things that he's influenced. He's influenced everything from startups to Fortune 100, Fortune 500 companies, and now he's in the venture capital space. So we're going to flash some of that stuff up here on the screen just so everyone could get to know a little bit more about On.
Yeah, and if you're at home, you want to check out some of the work, it's brothers.design.
Yep.
That's the website.
Brothers.design. Easy to remember. So let's get into it. First set of cards is a trip down memory lane. I've created them in sort of no specific order, but I think they'll just bring back a little bit of things that you've done so we could talk about that and learn a little bit more about you as a designer. So the first card is this. I found this in the archive. This is like probably 07, which is a long time ago, maybe 07, 08.
This is kind of crazy to see this. Fuck, I haven't seen it in a while, but...
Let me hold this up to see if the cameras...
I think this project here, maybe there are like a couple stories that I could tell as, or any type of creative.
Deep and philosophical in there. What is this though? What is this?
So this is, I called it Scentbook, and pretty much you could imagine it's a book of matches that doesn't really strike a flame. When you strike it, a puff of smoke comes out, and it's scented. So you have the apple. Here you see a rainbow, whatever. When you pull a match out, you have the apple scent, or the orange scent, or the grape scent, or the peach scent, or whatever that is. But what I was leading to with that story is that these concepts I used to pop out back then in like 07 to 08. Whenever crazy ideas came to mind, I would just illustrate them real quick and then throw them online. And this was a result of one of them. But what happened was, before the pandemic, even back then, we would always have guests at our house, rotating guests all the time. And I remember specifically walking into the restroom one time after a friend. I'm gonna just say whatever. I could cuss it or whatever, right? Like I walked into the restroom after one of my buddies.
This is user journey, opportunity, solution.
So after one of my buddies, he obviously took a shit. And then I came in, I was like, fuck, it smells like shit. And as a designer, this is what I'm talking about, is like instantly I try to solve these problems in my head, and it came to mind that there are matches in here, but some people hate the smell of matches. So why do we go to matches? Why can't I create like a book of like something where I could strike and all of a sudden when I pull this object, that almost is like a match, the room fills up with lavender or something, you know. And this was a result of it. And that's what that's what I mean when I say the gift and the curse of a designer is when I stepped in there, instantly I try to solve and I try to fix problems, but you could think about how tough that would make our daily life, you know. Everything you try to deconstruct, everything you try to problem solve, you know. So this reminds me of that.
Which is pretty awesome, is like, you know, any circumstance you approach it in a way of like, what are the most meaningful steps to get to like a solution? But
then you run into the situation of when you sit, you judge the chair. When you use a doorknob, you think of reinventing. You know, it's crazy, but it's the life I've chosen. I enjoy it. Yeah.
Next
Sorry,
one.
didn't mean to riff on that, but that's what it is.
No, this is good. All right, next one.
Oh shoot! So
what is this?
So that right there is Tinker Hatfield. Me and my love for sneaker culture, but I was born and raised in Portland, Oregon. If you don't know Portland, Oregon, it is like the Silicon Valley of footwear. So
makes sense.
Nike's there, Adidas is there. I think Under Armour is there now. Columbia Sports, Danner's there. So grew up stuff. Bathing in footwear culture, and I think that's how I was introduced to footwear, or industrial design was for the love of footwear. And right after I finished working on the Nike Fuel Band and a few of the GPS watches, I was in Portland at a Nike, this is gonna date me a little bit, but I was at a Nike Flyknit launch, and I ran into Tinker, and I spoke to him for a little bit, and he's like, who the fuck are you? And I was like, shit, dude, I'm just a fan. And then I had to do the fucking shitty the project drop where I was like, hey, I just worked on these with Nike. And then he's like, oh, really? And then he stood there, and I was like, all right, fuck, I'll take a photo with you.
At that time, it was like Fuel Band, right?
Yeah, but all around just crazy moment, you know, like a kid meeting his idol.
Yeah.
So that's that. Yeah.
Yeah, this photo is super
that's so
iconic
crazy.
because you think about it, at that time, the field band in those days was huge.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I think a lot of people were really impressed with like the work that like the consultancies in the Bay that was working on it, especially Astro that was working on it, and to move from Portland and be surrounded by sneaker culture, and to meet your sneaker hero. Tinker Hatfield, if you don't know, is responsible for a ton of Air Maxes, a ton of Jordans stuff. And he, like a lot of us designers, actually started in architecture.
Architecture.
And moved to industrial design because a lot of industrial designers didn't know that existed. And from that, there's just, he's one of the first few that like paved that path for us. So like this whole slide like is
industrial
iconic.
design without knowing industrial design. You know, this is a crazy
Next
moment.
one.
Holy smokes! Fuck! So this is
what is this?
Laptop case. So this is a laptop case for HP. So there was a design competition that came out, and this was the young hustler in me, where
this was
a long time
early
ago.
creative session.
This is early creative
college.
session. Super hustle, where HP had a design competition for laptop cases, and here's the loophole: is that you can submit as many design entries as you choose. So I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna fucking design for a long time and come up with a bunch of concepts. So I went home and I designed like 6 or 7 or 8 laptop cases, submit all of them. And next thing you know, they hit me up. To backtrack a little bit, it was a Project Runway collaboration with HP. I submitted all of those, and I ended up winning 2 or 3 laptops.
I think it was
off
3.
Of that. Yeah, I won three prizes.
Yeah. It was
with
crazy.
3 entries.
So Project Runway is like the start of one of those reality TV shows around design competition and fashion, and they did a collaboration with HP, and at that time On submitted a bunch.
Yeah, it was like maybe like 6 or something.
It was 6 or 7, but I remember distinctly because we're like in college, and they emailed us. We screen captured it here, hi On, and they sent us 3. It was like it was
3
called
laptops.
Like HPNB at the time, and we're like, holy fuck, you could do this with design.
And I eBayed all of them. I was like a hungry college student. Oh shit! All right, cash.
When we get further in this section, he's not hungry anymore. We'll talk about that.
Come on. I am.
All right, so
hungry.
next slide.
Stay hungry.
This is good.
Stay hungry. Stay humble. Stay hungry. Stay humble.
Yeah, stay hungry. Stay humble, everyone. I think what's great is ID opens a lot of doors.
Yeah, it does.
It's crazy how much access you get.
Okay, it does, and it
Next
really
one.
does. Holy
What's
smokes.
this?
So back then, man, this is super memory lane. But so back then there used to be these shows that would move from city to city called Cut and Paste, where they would do live design battles on stage with the top 5 or 6 designers from that specific city. And me, I'm super introverted, kind of a shy guy, would never put myself out there into a situation such as this, and I would never apply. But 3 days before the competition happened, the SF design battle happened, the CEO of this company hit me up and was saying that someone backed out of the competition, so can I fill in the spot? And I was like, fuck, man. Why would I do this? Why would I do it? But let's just fucking do it. But some of my team members at Astro also encouraged me, so I was like, all right, let's fucking do it. So I was like, all right, whatever. I'm just gonna take the leap. So I took the leap. I joined the competition, and on the day, you have 20 minutes on the spot to design, think, conceptualize all that stuff of the concept. And the theme of the specific day was alternative transportation. And they said, give it a spin. And how would you treat alternative transportation as a product designer? So to me, I made a magic carpet. And if you look at the surfacing of the carpet, almost flows and represents like a roadster or a car. Like a really speedy, sexy car, and to me, it was almost making fun of the topic of alternative transportation, and almost saying that like us as designers, we have the power and the capabilities to define what cool and what sexy is. And for back then, it was just the thought of like, why do we need gas guzzling crazy cars? Like, why can't we make cool things that could be efficient, like electric cars these days? Or as designers, create cool things that replace these cars. So I made the magic carpet and told that story. And luckily, I won that design competition, and they sent me to New York to design battle with like a worldwide.
It's worldwide
set.
group.
Yeah. So
I remember
it was all over Tokyo.
It's like a
Spain, people from all over the world.
Yeah.
But crazy.
You think of it as like a live rap battle, right?
Yeah,
like
almost.
It's
super
almost
intimidating. Full audience, full house.
Yeah.
Everyone's drinking, hanging out.
It's at a not necessarily a bar, but a good venue.
Yeah.
Lots of drink happening, but also like full screen up on the projection screen up on the wall, and like designers have like, you know, a certain amount of time, and you got to design live, and it becomes like super intimidating for everyone. It's kind of like our show, right? Because we're gonna have to try to design live today. We'll see. But I think what's great here is we don't see much of this anymore today, right? Like it's pitting designers against designers and kind of having them battle.
I mean, we do see that on Instagram of like, weekly design challenges or things like that, which is still awesome. Yep.
Yeah. All right. So next one.
Oh shoot.
Last one.
Oh shoot. So fuck. Damn, this is straight crazy. So what you're seeing here, I should have been explaining the board to begin with, but what you're seeing here is a post from Audi of sketches that I did at the house. They're posted on Audi's Instagram, and what you're seeing in the back here to the left is tags, pretty much like name tags and key cards to the Audi launch event. When they first launched the Audi A3.
It's probably the first time we got VIP access to some event.
And then the right here is us at the event holding the screen that we created. So what happened was, this was like the early days of social media when I was super active. I used to sketch all through college. I would sketch cars, shoes all day, all the time. And I used to tweet companies. So I was tweeting Beamer, BMW, and they responded. I was tweeting Audi, and they responded. And I love Audis. I never owned one, but I just love their styling and their aggressive aesthetic. So I would always, it's just the front grille. So I would always sketch them over and over and over, and kept tagging them. And eventually they responded, and they reached out for a collaboration project with Twitter.
What did they say here? Read it out loud.
If this is just a doodle, imagine a full drawing. Now that's impressive. Thanks, Creative Session. So yeah, this led into a full program with Twitter. Invited us to the launch event, and we made like a dress and screens and all that stuff for them. So the power of social media, and yeah, it was just a crazy time, super crazy time.
Yeah, I think it was just around like, how do we influence around the same category, and like, you know, like this got picked up. This was like really early days too, when we were, you know, just starting out as designers, and we were just trying to connect with community. And what's really fun is like something as small as like tagging companies and like connecting with community could lead to something as big as like a, you know, it was like the Audi A3 e-tron event, so the first electric car release, and they invited us to come present sketches, but also design a dress. He's underplaying it, but it was a pretty big deal. We met like some pretty high executives, and they put us in LA, and that was a pretty interesting experience, considering, you know, two Portland kids coming from, you know, immigrant parents,
first generation,
where we're like, what? This is what design life is
so
it was like really interesting.
The leverage that your creativity, if you really stand behind it, gives you.
Cheers.
I think.
Cheers to that.
Oof, I went straight in.
Oh my God.
Oof.
We should talk a little bit about upbringing and sort of contextualize where you came from. And then, more importantly, I want to talk a little bit, touch base about like college and creative session and the format of that, and then how that evolved. So
we were raised in shoe culture, and I think when you're a young designer, you chase a lot of like hype beast vanity projects, you know, like, oh, what's the coolest projects? I want to hop on that.
Yeah.
I want to work on the biggest brands, the coolest brands.
This is straight out of college, or you just
I think as a young designer in general, like when you're going to school or as any creative, even if you didn't go to school, it's always a dream to really work with the biggest brands, you know, like work on things that are relevant, that are cool.
I think that
maybe I'm jumping too deep into the future here, but I think creative session, we started that in college. And we started in college to really explore ideas and really collaborate with our friends to just do whatever the hell we choose.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people fell off and kind of came and went, but we consistently tried to hold on to this because almost to me, during our professional careers, we still today we still work on creative session stuff, right? It's on the side, although like we might be quiet about it sometimes, but it's a constantly moving machine.
Yeah, I mean, this is creative session.
Yeah, this is creative session. But really, in school, it was a way to express ourselves. But what I've been thinking about recently a lot is that, like, especially with COVID going on, is that like life is too short and fragile. You know what I mean?
Right.
And like sometimes we take design a bit too seriously.
Yeah. Where
like we silo ourselves into little silos of constraints, you know, like I'm an industrial designer, I'm only gonna do industrial design, or I'm a graphic designer, I'm only gonna do graphic.
Right.
I'm an architect, I'm only gonna do architect, you know what I mean?
Right.
And like creative session for me throughout my professional career has been like giving myself permission to do creative shit outside of the day job, you know?
Right.
Like if Nike comes along, or if like Samsung comes along, they'll be like, hey, design under these constraints, and this is your job, you do this, this, and this. But with creative session, it has always been like, hey, I choose to do this, I'm gonna try, and if I fail, it's on me.
Yeah.
It's on me and you. It's like, we're gonna trial and error and learn and have that platform to test.
Creative session was super literal. It's like, we just want to do a creative session with someone.
Yeah.
And whatever that session is, we'll post it on a website or a blog or something, and that evolves into whatever it is. You know, like that's probably your first taste of like reliability and people and
collaborating,
collaboration and
with real people and roles and responsibilities and contribution and the real taste of work life, you know, or like conviction projects, you know. It's like I'll work on this if I really feel strongly about it, or not, then I won't. You know, it's just like true creative freedom to do whatever. Like there's still constraints, but we have enough with constraints with other things, you know, like it's almost beta, you know. It's a platform to try different things. Like there's so many people who approach us for projects that are willing to roll the dice and take a chance on us. And with creative session, we can do that if we choose to. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Well, you said it one time, right? Like creative session is about like unlimited freedom of creativity. Because our day jobs have a lot of limitations and constraints. And do you feel like it's still true today? Is it always gonna be true?
It's weird to talk about it like that because design without constraint is just art, you know? And like,
it's a good line, yeah.
And not that art is a bad thing. Yeah. Like we grew up drawing, and we grew up purely, still today, driven purely by the emotional side of art or of design, which is art. I think every phase or however you grow as a designer, the rules always change. You know, like what you mentioned earlier was that like, hey, you used to not be able to be picky. That's true. We used to work on everything.
100%.
We pick up everything. Yeah. and I've been mentoring students these days, and they're all paranoid. They're all super scared, and rightfully so.
Yeah.
Right? You're graduating and you're entering the job market during a pandemic.
Yeah.
And my story to really comfort them was when I graduated was 2009. That I was guaranteed a job.
Yeah.
I totally feel for everyone that's graduating the last couple of years, and like not to like hover and spend too much time on this, but we graduated during the recession, and that moment, the job market was crazy. And I'm trying to link this back to the question, was that like, not everything has been free flowing. We haven't been able to turn everything down, because when I graduated, the studio that I was going to move into, I was almost guaranteed a job, but when I graduated, they had just laid off 4 or 5 designers.
Yeah.
So then I was at home, just browsing the internet, trying to find whatever work I could find. And you know, when you have 3 months off and it's vacation, fucking great. You do whatever the hell you want. But then when you have 3 months off, not knowing that there's a future before you, and loans are knocking at the door, you start stressing. So what I had to do was, back then there wasn't IG yet, I started applying for jobs on Craigslist, like design jobs, Photoshop jobs, graphic design jobs, whatever I could find. And I started applying for like porno ads of like, can you just edit photos for us? Anything creative related, like just edit photos for us or whatever. Like that would have been an interesting story right now, but they never reached back out. But it got to that point where I was so desperate, I was applying to everything. And early on in your career, you just have to do those things. But then fast forward nowadays, further on in our career, something that I try to practice now is a lot of people reach out to us. A lot of people try to collaborate, and a lot of people try to work. My answer often is no, but it's a no for now. Like if you don't have the capabilities, or if you're not in the right mind state, it's okay to say no and turn things down, because it's better to turn things down than to ruin that relationship. You don't get a second chance at a first impression. So it's better to just say no now and wait for the right time in the future.
Yeah, we always try to say that to our companies at Playground today, is like when we work with startups and we work on branding or marketing material, we always say like, you only have one chance to have a first impression. I think that's really strong. That's for you.
And here's a random example, but when we were younger, we had a contract with Costco where they were just handing us projects, thousands.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
They were just handing us projects, but at that time, honestly, we weren't ready for that opportunity. We should have said no, because we took it on, and it got to a point where we were just overloaded and weren't ready for it, and the relationship was just burnt. But if we said no for now, we would have kept that bridge, you know, I think instead of burning it. Like that was a crazy steady stream of income and a solid client that we burnt because we took it on when we weren't ready.
You know, as designers, even with our website or even with our portfolio or how we sell ourselves socially, is that it's all perfect, and there's some flaw here. Is like, I think it's okay to trip and fall and have anxiety and have those pressures, but you know, you always will pick yourself back up and get to a place where you want to be.
Always be okay. Just
you know, it's a long career. You know, like continue to be dedicated to what you are passionate about, and I feel like you'll get there.
And I think it comes back to the earlier topic, or what I mentioned earlier, was that like, design is a part of life, and life is short. Try to have fun. Like sometimes design is too serious. You know, it's like, just relax and just try different things and try different mediums. Like there isn't a rule that's written anywhere that says you have to draw analog versus digital, or you have to be industrial design only versus a graphic designer. You know, like don't silo ourselves into anything. Just have fun. Like design, art, creativity, just, you know.
I think what's on
But
point.
don't be responsible about it though, right? Like do your due diligence, study the greats, read the books. Like,
100%.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the next section though. Like,
not trying
to connect.
Facts.
Wait, so just on the topic of like creative directing and being director and holistically thinking about design programs and understanding every piece of a project, and by having that oversight, I think it's a good segue to our next set of cards, which is why I hate my job.
Hope it's a decent perspective here.
So, why I hate my job. And I think a lot of designers could relate to this because, like it's just like the territory.
Yeah, I mean, the thing though really is that like try to love your job because there's gonna be shitty moments. Like there's always shitty moments, and like you just have more patience with the things that you love a little bit more.
Yep. So this is on process. Like I said, it's gonna start a little bit easy and slow.
This is easy.
So on your design process today, do you feel like following trends or do you feel like following your own heart?
I think always follow intuition. Trends are created from intuition. And if you're following trends, you're following someone else's trends. Like if you follow your heart is going to create the trends for other people to follow. I personally feel that way. Like if you're going to follow trends, you might regret that trend. It might be too late. It's already out, like use your own conviction, use your own intuition to create what's next. Like we might not know what's next, but what's next exists around us, all around the world. We just, as creatives, we are the ones who are curating that palette that's next.
Yep. Evolution, revolution.
That's it. Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers on that. Good answer. All right, next one. What about this guy? Would you rather have a great pay or shit job, or shit pay and great job?
Or see all the above. Some days you want great pay with a shit job. I see shit pay with a great job.
You only get one choice. You gotta choose one. Your status today, who you are as a designer.
When I was a younger designer, it was B. As a more mature designer, it's A. So I get great pay, shit job, and then on the side I could do more work. No, I'm kidding.
Playground, shout
Playground,
out.
fire
you
my
heard
ass.
this guy, fire this guy.
To be honest, like I'm always like I feel like I'm always B, but somehow I found myself in A. Like if you talk to anyone that I've worked with before, I'm always the designer's like super passionate.
Yeah.
Always about creators.
Yeah.
Always about like the cause.
I think this psychologically, if I had to draw a line, I think you fall in B more. Like you're more passionate about the work, and you would compromise your pay for
like very often I get lost in my work, where like I would be like months in, just like trying to figure something out because I'm just so excited.
He's on like a contract project where it's like over 6 months past due, and he's still working on it.
Yeah. All right.
Nah, no, this is good. We all know some designers who are like, I just care about great pay and I don't give a fuck about this. Next one. All right, what would you rather have? A great project, shitty team, or a great team and shitty project?
So this one, fuck, if I could remember this, I'm lightweight buzz. But I think P. Diddy quote. Just
Google it up.
P. Diddy quote. No, I'm not gonna Google it. P. Diddy was saying that if my artists succeed, it's because of them. If they fail, it's because of me. I think there's another quote that says, I'd rather be in a bad... would you rather be a good actor in a bad movie or a bad actor in a good movie? And this talks about team. And to me, I would not rather be a good actor in a bad movie. I 100% would rather be the bad actor in a great movie. I would really love to step down for the greater good. And I think that's very important. That's very important.
I think this aligns with your comment around like great project and bad pay.
This is very important. Yeah.
It keeps building.
Yeah.
What would you rather have? A bad client with bad ideas but big budget, or a great client with good ideas but one day turnaround? With your experience today as a design director,
Okay.
understanding the whole process, all phases, execution, all that.
It's so crazy because I
want
almost have
pay
to
more?
reflect. I almost have to reflect on my current economical situation, right? It's like great client. That one day turnaround is tough because you can almost produce nothing, you know. But then bad client, bad idea, but a big budget. It's like you could stretch that out and you'll just be killing yourself.
One choice.
I guess B, get it over with one day, and then you hop onto the next project.
Cheers to that. I agree to that. Considering the stakes in our current situation,
I'm not going to spend 2-3 months on A and just be stressed the fuck out. All right.
Yeah.
That's it. That's that.
It leads back to our first question.
Yeah.
This last one's a little bit spicy. What's worse?
Oh fuck!
I'm just kidding. We love all these companies. We're just.
I love both. I love both.
What's worse though? Astro Studios team or Playground's team? And I think this gets a little bit like you could go deep on this.
Yeah, I could go super deep. Yeah. Like there are many lessons in both. Like
considering these other cards.
To be honest with you,
it's almost like saying consultancy versus VC.
Well, Astro taught me about family. Playground taught me about business. Both are important.
That was just a joke. If anyone that's watching that are from Astro or Playground, we're just joking. I think they're both like great companies, and you know, like from a consultancy and design perspective, Astro was really awesome from that. Also business, but you weren't at that level for that. But like for Playground, it's been great to understand venture capital.
I did recently heard, I think it was on something design podcast, but they were saying design without business is just decoration. I kind of got offended a little bit, but I think it's real. I think it's
true.
It's real.
It's true. So past, present, future. If we just got past that, I think everyone understands who Astro Studios is. They're a consultancy firm in San Francisco. They've done some pretty tremendous things.
So just lightweight history is when I joined. They worked on Xbox 360, all that crazy stuff. We worked on like crazy clients, so phones, phone cases for in-case, Apple, washers and dryers for LG, Samsung, laptops, headphones, a bunch of crazy shit. So super
credible. You guys just flexing now.
I'm not trying to flex, but really it's like these guys provided a platform to build crazy products and to really learn, and they took a chance on me, so shout outs to them.
So cheers. Post Astro, what tell us a little bit about Playground.
Playground.
What led to that? What are your plans?
So early on in my career, one of my mentors and still today is a guy named Mitch. Yep. He's a East Coast designer. Actually,
Mitch Alvarez.
Yep. Shout outs, Mitch. So when you're at a consultancy, what a lot of designers value are the high profile clients, right?
Yep.
Like when you jump into a consultancy, you want to work with the Samsungs, you want to work with the Nikes, you want to work with the Googles and things like that. But super early on in my career, Mitch pulled me aside and he's like, hey, really pay attention to the startups. Really pay attention to the startups because these guys have limited funds. Whatever they spend on, they're going to produce. So what happens is you have a lot of impact. There's more impact on the startups than the actual corporations, because the corporations will take your designs back and they'll dissect it and create 10 or 12 products out of the one that you submit. Yeah. So early on in my career, I was influenced by this thinking, and I'm like, oh shit, that is true. So as I'm working with the Fortune 100, 500 companies, I'm also thinking that I should really value these small startups and really try to build with them.
Yeah.
So it just led me down that path, and since then it's almost like David versus Goliath. You know what I mean? Where Goliath is Google and David is the startups. Not to talk shit about anybody or the larger companies or the smaller companies, but really it's like figuring out what is comfortable for you and what type of fight you would like to fight, and where you can make the most impact to yourself. To yourself. And to me, it was the startups. And I remember specifically, this was maybe like 10 years ago, where there would be startups that come in. And there was this one company specifically where it was like, the rub-on tattoos. I've talked about that. Where like there's this company that came in with rub-on tattoos that you get from the quarter machines, where they rubbed it on, and on your phone you can see what's coming out of your sweat. So like your perspiration level of like, am I healthy? Am I not? Am I working out enough? Am I not? And to me, that blew my mind. I was like, this is fringe technology. This is like. This is outliers. This is an outlier. Like this is something that like I haven't seen before, and it truly got me excited. And fast forward today, so I'm at Playground Global, and to those of you who don't know what Playground is Playground is a $1 billion fund that invest in startups on what we like to say is like we invest in improbable to impossible ideas.
I think that's a great tagline. We started at 900 million. And not to say that's a small fund, but for us as first gen Vietnamese designer, when they're like, hey, you should come design for us at Playground, and we have 900 million to play with. We're like, what? Like what the fuck? Like what the fuck? But that just led me down the path of leaving consultancy to a VC fund. And these days we're almost like venture designers, you know? And to me, like if you've worked with startups, investment banker, you say investment designer.
Investment designers. And to us is every startup has a story, right? And like every story that isn't told right will be heard wrong.
100%.
Like 100%. Cheers.
I think that's a great fucking line.
And really, if you think about it, and if you distill it down, as designers, and this is the siloing part that I was speaking about. It's like when we joined Playground, we were industrial designers. But today we are design directors, because we understand the value of storytelling and the value of just creativity that we could bring to the landscape of like, like I could spend my days industrial designing and design your product, but then it fails because no one hears it right. Like no one perceives it right, or no one gets the true story. So what we really need to specialize in is everything, the whole palette, the branding aspect, the marketing aspect, the product aspect, the graphic aspect, the whole storytelling.
To be clear, let's be fair. I think at every level, there's a need for every level. The junior, the senior, the director. And I think you're speaking on like a director level, right? Like, and I think
it's so weird for me to be here today talking about this.
It's super valid to say that. And as like, like if our audience have, younger designers who are just saying like, I'm just trying to place in the industry, or I'm just trying to be, I just want to get a job, or like our senior designers who are like, okay, where do I go next? What An's pointing out is great, because like traditionally there's a consultancy and there's in-house, like the Googles and the Apples.
And there isn't a right or a wrong answer. There isn't. This is just my path.
And now there's this VC path.
Yeah, that's the crazy thing.
We never imagined ourselves, like 3 or 4 or 5 years ago, being in this place and
wearing many hats.
What you're pointing out is like some days you wear so many hats that you're designing pitch decks and designing branding and designing websites and designing industrial design.
But it comes down to.
But if you're a designer out there that's looking for that, like this is the model, right? This is the model that you're looking at. Maybe, right? This is the type of person you're looking at. And it's there. And it's available. So develop that.
Yeah, I think to me, to really close that section is really like creative session is the now, where we have the 1 to 5 year scope, where we're high conviction projects right now.
Yeah.
Playground is the 5, 10, 20 years out, where we will affect life and evolution in a major way.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's awesome. That's a great way to put it. It's shifting paradigms.
Yeah, paradigm shift.
All right, we're gonna move to the next section. And so before the episode, I wrote on social media. I wrote filming a special DUI episode tonight. Mm-hmm. The guest will be my brother. Do you have design questions or just general questions?
Yep.
And let me just shout out to all the people who just like threw out some dirty ass questions, or like people who just like
it's probably Hector.
Totally ignore. Yeah, it's probably Hector.
Yeah, it's pretty Hector.
It is Hector. A part of it is Hector, but for people who ask genuine questions, and like there's a couple themes that came up, right? Is like one is like what's it like to work together? Mm-hmm. The other question is. Okay, so Clem said specifically, "Yo B, how is it you're back carrying Huang for so long?" And like general question is, a lot of people said that just like to take a stab at me. I know, maybe not. Maybe I've just been carried for a long time, but like that's one general question, and the other is just like you're a source of inspiration, like especially as a designer who is more thoughtful. Okay, if we didn't clarify this in the beginning, I'm very like shoot from the hip, like let me grab my drink, I left it over there. But I'm very like impulsive, and On's very thoughtful, and like shout out to Kris, he's gonna bring it over. I'm very like impulsive, and On's more thoughtful, and he thinks about like projects and execution, versus I'm just always like idea, fucking execute, go.
Yeah.
What's it like carrying me? What's it like carrying me throughout my career?
Let me see. Fuck, my back hurts. My back really hurts. To be honest, I think like we're almost like yin and yang. Like people who
cheers to that.
People who really, yes, it's. To be honest, I'm gonna give you a real honest answer here, is that like a lot of the things Huang designs, I'm not into it. I'm really not into it, and like I'm pretty sure he's not into the shit that I designed, but to be honest, that's where the balance happens. You know, like for a good, healthy design relationship, people have to be questioning one another. You know what I mean? Like,
holy shit!
Hey, real talk though. Real talk though. Like, you can't be yes man.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
You have to almost like question the design first run. But like with me and him, like I question this shit all the time. I question this shit all the time, and like a lot of times it's not that great to me. But what you have to realize is that like as a designer, your perspective is one perspective. It's one perspective. And the other person's perspective, Huang's perspective, is another perspective. It's one perspective. And there's thousands of perspectives out there, and yours isn't always the best one. And as a designer, you need to always realize that, is that like you're just one perspective out of the thousands.
Yeah.
And sometimes yours isn't gonna be the greatest, and it's okay.
Yep.
It's okay. Like, don't let the ego jump in and be like, hey, because it's not yours, it's not great.
Yeah.
It's like, just know when to step up, when to step back.
Yeah.
And as partners, when we pick up projects, sometimes they're gonna select mine, sometimes they're not. But when they're not, be ready to step up and defend it. Like always when we present stuff to clients, it's always we, it's never I.
Yeah.
Like his concept, my concept, you'll never know whose concept, because it's always we. And I might hate it, but I'm gonna speak about it as I love it. And that's the story of the backpack.
Fuck you guys. Fuck everyone who asked that.
Yeah, like, yeah, many perspectives, you're never right. Whatever.
I think, you know, like beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
Yeah,
like,
obviously
really makes sense, right?
different
like,
eyes.
It's people who just have.
Yeah.
Last question. What's the funniest thing you've ever designed?
Funniest thing. It would have been the Craigslist porno ads, but let me see, funniest thing.
Craigslist porno ad is probably super funny.
So like I tell the story, this might not be as funny, but it's a bit more serious, but when I first joined Astro Studios, they put me on a Febreze project to design candles. And I joined them specifically, I can't take this guy seriously, but I joined them because they designed the Xbox 360, and I was like, fuck, these guys design Xbox, I need to join them. As soon as I joined them, they put me on a candle project with Febreze. And I was like, what the fuck is going on? I don't want to design candles.
That's a rookie move there.
Yeah,
like,
sure, rookie
put
move.
the rookie on.
The rookie on. But
candles.
what I learned is that like whatever people throw at you, swing as hard as you can. Make that the home run.
Yep.
And I swung, and it was a Febreze design project. I worked with Spencer. Shout outs to Spencer. You know the story. I've told you many times.
Sketchaday.com.
Yeah, sketchaday.com. But really, like, what came out of that project was like, how can I really recreate a candle to be as best as it can be? And I made a candle where like the lip of the glass was treated so you could strike matches on it. Or if you really think about the user experience, candles are about leaving a very good scent behind in a room. And I created a candle where the base of the candle had a scented bottom. So whenever you set it in different rooms, it left a scented trail. So there was like the lip candle, there was a scented trail candle, and it ended up being a bunch of patents for Febreze and Procter & Gamble.
That's pretty solid.
Yeah. So weird ass project, but it was fun. And it was a lesson to just enjoy and try to make the best of any project, even though you like it or not.
I like that.
All
right, we're gonna move to the next section in phase 3. Move to the next section is we're gonna play the card game.
Yep.
And I won't describe the card game because we already made a video on that, and we'll play that now.
Yep.
Assemble the squad, and here's how you play. There are 2 decks, a found and a need. Participants will draw a card from each deck and reveal it before them. Hidden inside the deck is a wild card. If you draw that, you're drinking. Here's where it gets interesting. The designated captain will select 2 cards from the cards selected. In our case, the guest is the captain. Now design and present your ideas. The worst concept, drinks. Now all you gotta do is repeat steps 1 through 8. At this point, we're just gonna shuffle and draw. I'm gonna do 1 from found and 1 from need. Mine's found in the hospital, needs to fit in pocket.
Mine is found in this room. Wild.
Wild you drink. Wild you drink.
Cheers.
I already finished mine. Pick another card.
Not a wild. Needs to burn. Found in the room, needs to burn. Found in the hospital.
So now the captain has to choose 1 set for us to design. What do you want to choose? Found in this room, needs to burn. You can mix and match them. Found in this room, needs to fit in a pocket. Found in a hospital, needs to burn. How do you know what you need to burn in the hospital?
To be honest, I'm gonna go ahead and pick that. Found in a hospital, needs to burn. Let's go.
So these 2?
Yep.
All right. So now we got to design.
Damn, this shit's hella hard. But that's why I chose it.
A few minutes later.
We can't even drive. We got to walk home. Luckily.
Roll through quickly. Found in a hospital. Bam. Needs to burn. My ideas. I have a few ideas. Furniture. So I had a few friends who had babies recently, and they spent time in the hospital, and some of them had to stay overnight. And what I really feel like needs to burn is the furniture. They stayed there overnight and it was a really uncomfortable situation, and I feel like this has been a constant trend with hospitals, is that like they make it really uncomfortable for you to stay overnight. So furniture found in a hospital needs to burn.
And let me remind you, it doesn't have to be great. It just has to talk about you. I'm fucked up. It just has to talk about your level of thinking and sort of like your design process. Scalpel with heat. So when you're doing surgery, is this hot scalpel gonna help you cut better? Oh fuck, that's stupid.
And really the reason why I narrowed down to these two was I wanted a tough situation. Like I wanted some hard constraints to work against. So furniture is the first one. The second one would be some type of brick oven where you can burn the bills and the food. Because I hate hospital bills and I'm not sure if I like the food.
A coma tan bed. Sometimes when you're in a coma for too long, you start to get pale. My guy, you need to get a little bit more tan. What better than a coma tan bed?
And maybe the third one is this confession booth type of situation where you come in, and I think like hospitals are about delivering the toughest news. Whether a loved one is sick, whether you are sick, whether the news is sick, it's just tough news. So maybe there's a room where you could sit in there and just burn your emotions, because those emotions are hard and it's something I do not want to deal with. Neither do you. This has been Design Under the Influence. This is on, and I think I survived.